Let's talk about hair. There's many different types of it, and most of us can agree that it's integral to our sense of self. Unlike clothes, where you can try different ones on and discard them after, hair is on our bodies, and for a lot of people from various cultural backgrounds, it becomes a fundamental part of who you are, and it's become a sense of home and belonging. So my cultural heritage is a bit like a human cocktail. My dad is Nigerian and my mum is Vietnamese and Chinese. But I also recently found out that my grandfather was half Arab too. So I guess this sort of fusion might explain my unusual hair type. As you can see, it's just a big ball of frizz, or that's how I see it anyway. It's almost like I couldn't decide whether I wanted to be curly from like my dad's side or straight from my mum's side. It was just kind of this really weird fusion. But I guess I never really and like sort of was aware of it about the importance of my hair and never really cared about it or seen it in a negative way because I lived in Southeast London. And so everyone looked different, having the most beautiful braids, cornrows, wavy hair, straight hair. I felt completely comfortable embracing my unique frizz. But it all kind of changed when I moved from the city to the suburbs. My mum had to seek asylum, so my mum and my brother stayed in a refuge, leaving our community and knowing absolutely no one, which was really frightening for my mum especially. I remember my first day at school and sitting in the assembly room and quite excited actually because it's a new school, meeting new people, and my mum had styled me in my favorite hairstyle with this really cool zigzag parting. And I remember hearing two girls behind me sort of snickering and laughing at my hair. So it was the first time I felt like I didn't really belong. But I think it was when I started to sort of realize what should I do to sort of fit in. And I guess I started thinking about how sort of ugly my hair was, but more so that I didn't look like these Disney princesses that I grew up watching. And, you know, I think all the sort of cartoons I watched were all girls that were sort of had straight hair or wavy hair with no sort of frizz. I didn't feel like I was represented in the sort of TV shows that I was watching. And even when they created a new Disney princess that was black in 2011, she still had her hair pinned up, and her hair was always up, pinned up in a bob. So it almost made me feel like my kind of hair wasn't sort of beautiful or welcomed. And recently I found an old treasure chest, which I'd kept my drawings in my old diary. I found this drawing when I was 7, which was supposedly meant to be a self-portrait, which clearly obviously isn't, but I must have thought that my hair was ugly and not right. So I guess after several years and seeing only acceptable hairstyles like that, I finally did something about that, which led to the straightening. After a lot of convincing, my mum did let me have my own pair of straighteners, but little did I know that it'd become my best friend. Even considering to buy portable battery powered ones so I could kind of have them all carry them around with me wherever I went. But it was definitely an addiction. Getting up so early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'd always say to my friends, "Oh, it's easier. It's not early. It's fine." But then I guess looking back on it, it was quite hard. I really wanted to fit in until I came to Central St. Martin's for my art foundation, and I met a really beautiful Nigerian girl. She had the most beautiful 4C hair and showed the versatility of Afro hair, the many ways you could style it, just like you see in the photo. It was when I started to really love and appreciate the skin and body I was in that it allowed me to explore and appreciate my cultural heritage. Although this was the start of my transitioning back to my natural hair, I felt proud of my heritage and culture, but I still felt like I didn't belong. I spent most of my time in Surrey and had white friends, and I felt like I didn't have my place in that society. And so I moved to Manchester thinking that it would change for me. But I guess I did have a great time. I love Manchester, and I moved there because it had that sense of community. But I think me trying to travel to and from different places to find my home, I was getting a bit confused and was still very lost. So it's kind of back to square one, not having many Black or POC friends, or students, or even tutors really affected me in the last 2 years. It made it harder for me to bring up this topic for discussion as I feared being isolated. However, if I'd carried on, I wouldn't have birthed Flipside. And I say birth because I kind of do think that Flipside is almost like a baby, where it kind of came from a personal experience of, not feeling represented in the design industry. So I guess I'd say Flipside at the core is about owning your truth and appreciating people from different walks of life. And yeah, I say that the universe works in mysterious and wonderful ways. I believe Flipside could not be so relevant in this current political climate. This particular speaker really resonated with me because she was telling everyone how she didn't feel black enough or white enough. And her experience made me realize that I wasn't alone. We just need to be who we are, really. Don't let your sense of difference plague you. Be unapologetically you. And I travel thousands of miles to know that I'm not just mixed race or black. I'm an individual. I'm also Jada, and no one is like me. I quite like to end on this quote by Emily McDowell, and she talks about how finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's coat pocket. You're also not lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself, an unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you.